this is already starting to be chaotic. Anyways, welcome, I guess. I don't know. So I have, this is already peak chaos, so this is definitely the future of this channel. So I've been meaning to start this and start making videos about 2-3 months ago, because I was going to record the progress of the different stages to moving to the UK for university, because I'm in Canada, but I procrastinated, and I just felt like things weren't happening fast enough to warrant videos, and now I'm leaving in 3 days. So welcome! This is a countdown now. Yeah. Guess, yeah.
This is where we all expect an update. Well, actually, this is halfway through the year. I've been here for a couple of months, obviously. Today is January 3rd of 2023. The entirety of Term 1 is over, and Term 2 starts next week. So, yeah, this is where I say, oh, here's more footage. No. I have some pictures of inside the plane, of dinner, of breakfast, of looking out the window. And other than that, yeah, I didn't get... Oh, I have a room tour, but that will be a different video. So, yeah. This is going to be laid out a bit differently than what I had hoped last year. But at the same time, I'm actually kind of happy that I didn't have all of that to post before. Because looking back on it, the entire process, I mean, obviously looking back on something, the process seems very different than how it was. So, I will be breaking it up a bit. This video, the very first, is going to be about just generally being an international student, being a British citizen by descent, because I have found, when I was looking for it last year, I found absolutely nothing online that was useful for being a British citizen by descent. It's not very common, or it's just not talked about very much. So yeah, we'll talk about the application process, the dates, the universities that I applied to, the response times, which one that I did actually accept the offer of, and the preparations I made, and just the general timeline of an international move from Canada to a university in England. Exciting. Get on to part 1. So let's start at the start, shall we? So, back in, I can't even say last year, but back in 2021, I decided that I was going to finally apply to university. At the time I was working a full-time job. I am a mature student. I turned 23 this year. So when I started applying, I was 21. And the process for a mature student is quite simple, to be honest. I had done a couple of other college certificates after high school, and in the hopes of getting a job easily out here, so that I could have a decent paying part-time job while studying. So I was working full time, and I had realised that 3 years had gone by since I had graduated high school, since I had wanted to move on to university, and I guess my brain had just finally kicked out of COVID mode. So I started looking at universities and I started applying. I went through an organization called Across the Pond because I didn't know any of the UK high school equivalent. Like, I didn't understand that, and I needed a bit of a translator, and I stumbled across them actually on a Facebook ad. Uh, they are a very trustworthy site, very, very lovely people. I absolutely loved the person that helped me out. She was very knowledgeable. It was amazing. She was amazing. So through them, I was able to apply to 5 undergraduate programs and then a couple of conservatories as well. They work with certain universities, and the conservatories weren't under them because they weren't associated or affiliated with that company. But because I was going to apply to other ones that were under their list, then they allowed it that they would help. So that was absolutely wonderful for me. I wanted to get into acting. I want to get into acting, but I do want some training first. So I went for a couple of conservatories. My dream school was the Royal Conservatory of Scotland. Unfortunately, I did not get in, and due to the fact that this 3-year course means that I will graduate when I'm 25, I didn't exactly want to wait around another year to do more auditioning processes just in case I wasn't going to get in again. So I applied to quite a few places. I applied to RADA, which I had to do myself. But I applied to RADA, and I applied to the Royal Conservatory of Scotland. I applied to the Royal College of Music and Drama in Wales. The Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama, I think is what it's called. And then Queen's Belfast, Brunel, Metropolitan, Royal Holloway. I feel like there was another one, but I cannot remember. Yeah, so I applied to quite a few places. I do have a bit of a list of an actual timeline. So the lady that was helping me through Across the Pond was very, very lovely and got a lot of things set up for me. So my UCAS was all set up properly and wonderfully, and I had to send in my documents like high school transcripts and college, the certificates that I had done. I had to send in those transcripts and whatnot, and I also had to write a UCAS statement for the universities. No problem, it was great. So through that, I registered with Across the Pond on in May of 2021. I made my choices for the universities that I was going to apply to in October. I believe I sent them in on October 4th to my representative contact person. Made my UCAS statement. My UCAS verification was November 10th. I made 2 different payments because last year they had undergrads and the conservatories split. So I made one payment to the undergrads on November 16th, and then I made the application payment for the conservatories on the 30th of November. And then from there, and I applied to RADA and paid for that as well on November 30th. So from there, I had an offer from Aberystwyth University, that was the other one, 2 days after I had paid for my application. So on the 18th, I had heard from Aberystwyth. They were very fast, very lovely. I was actually very excited about that. I did not do as much research as I should have. I was really just more I just need to get out of here, I'm doing this, whatever. And I didn't do as much research as I should have, but Aberystwyth really looked like a good place. Um, and then I sent in my RADA self-tape audition on December 15th. On January 13th, I got an offer from Royal Holloway, University of London. And then the Royal Conservatory of Scotland, which was the one that I was really, really wanting. Like, that's my dream university since I was 12. I had my audition set for the 25th of March. They had emailed me on the 1st of March to tell me when my audition was. So they did take quite a while to get back to me, because from November 30th to March 1st, that's quite a while, and I was getting really nervous about that and about like the audition processes, because there's about 3 or 4 rounds of auditions for them. So I did my audition on the 25th of March, and I heard back from them on the 29th of March, and I unfortunately did not get in. The other places, either I withdrew from at the last minute, or I did the auditions and I was unsuccessful. So on the 29th of March, the Royal Conservatory was the last one that I had been waiting on, and the only one I was really waiting on, and so I got rejected. So I immediately confirmed Royal Holloway, University of London. So yeah, from the 29th of March, I had confirmed. I picked Royal Holloway because of how close it is to London, and the career that I want to build, and the networking that would be possible in London versus Wales, which is very, very far away. I chose London because acting. It was just kind of an obvious choice for me, at least, out of what I had. So yeah. Oh, and RADA, so I sent in my self-tape on the 15th of December, and they had emailed me back with an update on January 27th saying I hadn't gotten in. So their response rate was pretty decent. So yeah. And for university stuff, the Royal Holloway accommodation, can't remember the word for it. The application for the accommodations, it opened on April, April 7th. So from March 29th to April 7th, that's not a very big gap. It was great. And then I heard about my allocation for accommodation July 18th, which was quite a while, from the beginning of April and then almost the end of July. So there was quite a while where I didn't know anything about where I was going and what I need to prepare for and whatnot. But I was definitely going to be staying on campus for the first year. And yeah, so that was the thing. So I was allocated my accommodation July 18th. I booked my plane ticket on August 9th because I was visiting my sister at the time when I got the email about my room. So I waited until I got back in order to book my flight. So August 9th. And I had emailed the school as well to see when move-in dates were, because again, they didn't actually send out like an information packet with your allocation. That was sent out closer to the end of August, I believe. Yeah, I believe I got an email closer to the end of August about stuff like that. So I had emailed them, and there is a new to the UK program that they do at the start of the year, which is absolutely amazing. And with that, you do actually get to move in a couple days early. So the new to the UK program had run from the 14th to the 16th, which was Wednesday to Friday, because the first day of term was the 19th, which was then shifted to the 20th. So I was able to I flew out of Canada on the 13th, and I got to move in on the 14th because that's when I landed, was noon on the 14th. Lovely time differences. And yeah, so that was it. I moved in on the 14th. I was so jet lagged, I missed all of the new to the UK activities. From what I heard, they went over visas and stuff like that, and like tours around campus, and basically just getting international students settled into the UK as best as possible. And yeah, so I slept through basically everything except for the new to the UK dinner on the Friday night. So I went to that, and I actually made quite a few friends there. Friends that I still talk to this day, and we are 3-4 months in. So yeah, that's found some good friends right off the bat. It was quite lovely. So yeah, that was it for like the actual timeline ish. So yeah, the applications themselves were fairly easy, and especially since I had help from that program. I will put the link in the description as well in case anybody else wants to use them. But yeah, so from Canada to the UK, the move was fairly easy. The application process was not that hard, and I also didn't have to deal with any of the visas because I am a British citizen by descent, which we'll talk about in the next bit. So yeah, it was a fairly easy process. It took so long to find out information. I got very, very little at a time. And I was stressing a bit because I am a planner and I was really, really trying to plan ahead. But yeah, that was the timeline and the process. I don't think I really have anything more to say about it. It was very simple. It was very easy. It felt like it took forever when I was going through it, but looking back on it, it's a very simplified process, and it was great to go through. And it did help that I was a mature student, so I wasn't waiting on any grades or anything from exams. So yeah. Alright, so British citizen by descent. I scoured the internet to find anything. And there's really just not much to be found. If anyone said that they were a citizen by descent, they didn't really go into anything. Really, at all. No students on any of the student forums that I went to were by descent. They were either international or not. So I'm gonna talk about it. I don't know. I don't know if I'm just not supposed to, but I'm going to because it's frankly ridiculous that I could not find a single thing other than if you could possibly be one. So being a citizen by descent there are strict guidelines-ish. So it's very specific. Like, your mum has to be born before or after a certain date, and you have to be born before or after a certain date. And your dad, if your dad's the British one out of your parents, then that makes it even harder because the father side is very, even more complicated. So luckily, I fit in the little specific list, and I did qualify to be a British citizen by descent. Now, there are a couple of ways of confirming it, and one of them is you can ask for a citizenship confirmation through the UK government, or you could just go for it and apply for a passport. And I went for it and just applied for a passport. So I could have very easily been out 150 Canadian by applying for a passport I didn't know if I was actually going to be able to get. So, so I do have the dates on when I applied for it. I really just left it. I don't know why I left it so long. I procrastinate. Um, but I applied on January 5th. Um, and you have to have someone confirm who you are. And they have to be like in a certain list of like jobs in order to confirm that you are who you are. And then you have to send in all these documents as well. So I had to send in information on my mum, on my dad, on my grandparents, and on myself. And I had to send in like tons of like actual original copies of things. So like wedding certificates on my parents and birth certificates, and I myself had to get a birth certificate, like a full birth certificate that says everything about you on it. So that was fun. I did end up having to send 2 packets of information to the UK government, and I wanted it as quickly as possible, obviously. So I did, and I think for each packet of paper that I sent, which was like, by the way, it was like this thin. It cost about 80 Canadian dollars in order to send each of those, and this was like priority and signed release and whatnot. But still, $80 for just a couple of pieces of paper. It was a bit steep in each. So I spent 140 Canadian dollars just sending paper, and then 150 for applying for the passport. So it was a very pricey venture, but it was worth it, because even though they needed more information and I was panicking when they said that, I did get my British passport in the mail on February. Well, apparently I can't read my writing. I got it February 26th. So from January 5th to February 26th, that's just under 2 months. So I think that's fairly good. So February 26th, a lot of my anxieties were gone, which was lovely. So yeah, from there I was scouring the internet once more to know what sort of rights and whatnot a British citizen by descent had in the UK if they had been living internationally their entire life, because like, I've never lived in the UK. So I was like wondering about everything, about what else you would need to do, what other things, like how do you get on the healthcare, how do you, like, because in Canada we have a social insurance number, like do you need that for the UK, do you need to set one up, and blah blah. And I could not find anything, and nobody was answering any of my questions on the forums. So I'm here to tell you, you can apply online for the NIN, the National Insurance Number, which is how you get jobs here, so that you can be, legal. So you can go through that, and it takes 4 weeks-ish. Got mine very quickly. It was wonderful. It was easy. That is how you get jobs. And then setting up a bank account was fairly easy. I set one up with Lloyd's, and I couldn't apply online just because of living in Canada and my last address being in Canada and the dual nationality thing. So that did end. I did have to go there in person in order to set it up. And yeah, I mean, apart from that, it's been fairly easy. Like as a British citizen by descent, you get everything. Like when you move into the country, it doesn't really matter if you're just moved or not. The one thing that does suck is in order to have home fees in the UK, you need to have lived in the UK for 3 years minimum. So I am a British citizen, and so I have all the rights of a British citizen, but I pay more than double what home students pay, which is quite irritating. But whatever, it's understandable. But yeah, so as an international student in my course in Royal Holloway, I pay £22,000 ish, and home students pay around £9,000. So there is quite a difference. So even if you are a British citizen by descent, you still have to pay international student fees until you've lived here for 3 years. And my course is 3 years, so yay. It's not that big of a problem. I mean, it's fine. It's just a lot of things here. If you want to live as a UK citizen, a lot of it as a student hinges on you living here for minimum 3 years. So a lot of things you aren't going to be able to get. Like a lot of bursaries and grants are hinged on 3 years minimum. So there is that. But yeah, I was stressing because I am an overthinker and an overplanner, and I was just trying to organise everything so that nothing went wrong. Spoiler alert, in a future video I will talk about it and about how almost everything went wrong, even with all the planning. But yeah, as for being a British citizen by descent, it's really straightforward, and that's perfectly fine and perfectly reasonable. But I just wish I would have found someone to tell me that months ago, actually a year ago now. So I will also put a link in the description on if you are like the list of if you can be one or not. And the process is easy. You just have to have paperwork is all. Like, you need to have every single piece of paper. So you might actually have to end up spending a bit of money in order to do that, because I think I had to pay 25 Canadian dollars in order to get the full birth certificate with all of your information on it. So I had to spend a bit of money to get all of my paperwork and then to send it over. But it's a fairly fast process, just under 2 months, free and easy, and then you have all the access that you want, and yeah, you're just set. So yeah, that is the citizen by descent. Really easy. Oh, and I didn't actually mention it. It only has to be one of your parents is a British citizen, as long as one of your parents was. If your mum is, it's a much easier process. If your dad is, much harder process. They're very, very picky on if it's your dad. So yeah. I don't really think I have anything else to say on that matter. So thank you for staying through this long video. I think the next one that I'm going to be doing, I have it actually on here, it's the actual move and the preparations and whatnot that I went through, like what I packed, and like getting ready, I guess, just going into a bit more detail about the days leading up, and then the actual trip and arriving and the arrival process, specifically for Royal Holloway, because that is where I am and that is kind of my only knowledge. But yeah, and then there will be a room tour sometime after that. And yeah, I hope that this information has helped anyone that is in the process of applying for universities, or international students, or if you're hoping that you're a British citizen by descent. I hope that any of that has helped. I know that when I was looking for information, I would have really loved this sort of talk. But yeah, so I hope you got out of it what I wished I had when I was applying and looking for answers. Yeah, have a wonderful day. I hope to see you in the next video.